My name is Michael. I was born in Germany and also went to school and to university in Germany. After my PhD in Cologne, I went to Japan for about 5 years. When I finished my PhD, or let's say when I finished my master, in Germany the industrial situation was very bad. So there was a complete hiring stop, and my supervisor at that time urged us young students to go somewhere exotic after the PhD or after the master course. And he always pointed at Japan. And I have to say he was absolutely right, and he probably still is right. Most people went to the USA, but the USA is not considered very exotic. So Japan or South Korea, I think, was a much better. So after 5 years in Japan, I decided to go back to academia. So away from industry to academia, just to do my own research. And I started in Ireland. So I went to Japan, back to Europe for about 4.5 years and worked as a lecturer in Dublin in Ireland. And then it was a bit too cold and windy in Ireland. So 2 years ago I moved to Australia, to Queensland, where I'm now an associate professor in organic chemistry. Well, I also was in South Korea for a while, and also in the USA during my undergraduate studies, but I like this part of the world better than the other side. Basically, I'm a photochemist. That means I use light to drive chemical reactions, and that's either to make some chemicals that have some industrial importance, or to destroy some pollutants. And we do that with the help of sunlight, for example, and that's why I moved to Queensland, which is a very sunshine state, where you have the potential to do a lot of photochemical reactions outdoor. More recently, and that is one of the reasons why I'm here, I also became interested in lab on a chip, so doing photochemical reactions on a very small space in a reactor that has the size of a matchbox. As you probably know, there's the new area of green chemistry currently emerging big time. So chemistry wants to become greener, environmentally more friendly. And here photochemistry definitely has a role to play, because we can make reactions very clean with a flick of a switch. So we turn on a light source, the reaction proceeds, we turn it off, and the reaction stops. And I think that is a big advantage. All right, you can also control the light very easily in its power and its wavelengths, so I think it's quite nice. However, we are a bit too early, but we hope that with the microchip reactions that we probably are able to offer a research tool to the industry within the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years. The discovery, I think so. You have to be a little bit crazy to be a researcher, because of course you have a lot of reactions that fail and you wonder why. Because on the paper everything works, but in the flask not everything works, because Mother Nature doesn't want it to work. But it is still, I think, the most fascinating thing, that you do research that probably nobody has done before you, and that you try out new things and hopefully succeed in doing those. I have a very mixed feeling all the time. I notice that nothing has changed in 10 years, so the English level is still very poor, to be very polite. Okay, I think the Japanese students have a few main problems. One, of course, is because of the language. The Japanese language is very different from a European language, or, for example, English. The other thing is you are living on an island. Okay, so for you the outside world is always across some water. And I think the Japanese students are somewhere trapped also in their traditions. So they want to be polite. As such, they struggle to talk and communicate to foreigners. And on the other hand, they don't want to lose their face or be ashamed by, talking wrong English. I think it's a long way for Japanese students to become more open and to become more internationalized. If you had asked me 20 years ago where I want to be in 20 years, I would have said in the same place where I am right now. But life is like a river, and you have to float on it. And science, in particular, allows you to go anywhere. So you have always opportunities to go for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, or maybe even a couple of years, somewhere else, where they speak basically the same language, and that language is science. Because the chemical equation is everywhere the same. The language may be different behind it, but the chemical equation is always the same. And science offers this opportunity, and you have to take it. It's a very good start, but it starts probably on the wrong end, because the students I'm teaching now obviously are lacking already the basics in English, or they speak a very crude Japanese, so Japanese English. And the problem that I face is I teach them in English, so in a difficult language for them, and on the other hand I teach them new sciences, so it's like a double new, and that is maybe a bit too much. I think it's a great idea. It shouldn't be an overexposure, but I think the problem starts way, way earlier in the schools and also outside the schools. So you have to tackle it probably from the bottom rather than the top at the universities. But otherwise it's a great opportunity for me, of course, to come back to Japan, and I think it is a small keystone towards a more international Japan.